man of simple elegance and grace, with reddish hair, grayish eyes, and freckles on his face.
He's Tom Jefferson. Recognize him, yes you can. Tom Jefferson, very extraordinary man. He's Tom Jefferson. Recognize him, yes you can. Tom Jefferson, very extraordinary man.
Have you ever met a president?
No!
Would you like to meet a president?
Yes!
Well, it says here, we are cordially invited to attend a reception on the 15th of April, 1801, at the Presidential Palace in the new capital of Washington to meet Thomas Jefferson.
But we're just ordinary people. We don't go to palaces and meet presidents.
You can now. This is the 19th century, and the new president has radical ideas about equality and democracy, replacing the aristocracy. The Van der Vans and up-de-ups are out-de-out, and we the people are in.
We're invited to the presidential palace, to an influential presidential team, to a new and bright and beautiful presidential palace in the new capital, Washington, D.C. Clippity-clop, over the cobblestones we're hopping, 'cause we've never met a president before. And we're all invited to the presidential palace, so we'll knock, knock, knock and walk right in the door.
There's James and Dolly Madison, right next to James Monroe.
And standing there with very red hair is the president. Hello, Mr. Jefferson. We're so happy to see the presidential palace. It's so nice of you to have us all to tea. Oh, the floor may squeak and
Dear me, the roof is leaking.
still and all, it's very nice to be at the Capitol in Washington, D.C.
It was leaky and drafty, hardly finished and barely furnished. Not a very fit home for the third president of the United States. But then, he never cared much for palaces or kings, and his one wish for royal power was to save the beautiful tulip trees of Washington from being chopped down and used for firewood. He had started life on the frontier when Virginia was still wilderness, and much of what he thought and believed he learned there as a boy from his father. To love the land and all things growing, to build, to plant, to do for yourself. These were the riches of life. If you needed more sun, you cut through the thicket. If you needed nails, you learned how to make them. If you needed a chair, you built one. And when his father died, leaving him a thriving plantation, master of all he could survey, young Tom, at 14, could already survey it himself.
Tom Jefferson! I do declare, he's up on that mountain of his, dreaming again.
You see such a beautiful view from the top of the mountain. The shiny horizon that's bright and exciting and new.
That's where he is, all right. See him? There, by that tall oak tree. Searching, exploring, looking out at vast, uncharted lands to the west and imagining what lies beyond them. You can't dream small on a mountain.
Says he wants to build his home there one day.
Strange idea. A home on a mountain.
How's he going to ship his crops?
Visit his neighbors.
Everybody here lives on the river.
Not him. He's going to live on a mountain.
Gonna live on a mountain
Where the eagles fly.
where the eagles fly. Gonna live on a mountain next to the sky. Am
You see such a beautiful view from the top of the mountain. A shiny horizon that's bright and exciting and new.
You stand very tall with your dreams on the top of a mountain. And nothing at all is impossible for you to do.
The view from the top of the mountain is bright and exciting and new.
With wonderful dreams that are waiting just for you.
He called it Monticello, his own little mountain. And all things that were truly Jefferson would one day be reflected there. Jefferson the architect would build a beautiful home. Jefferson the philosopher would fill it with books and music. Jefferson the scientist would experiment with crops and exchange new farming ideas with his neighbors. Here he would bring his bride, Martha, for the short time they had together, and the house would have children, and violin harpsichord duets, and all of his marvelous inventions. A clock that could tell the day of the week as well as the time. A dumb waiter for carrying food from floor to floor. Doors balanced so the slightest touch would open and close them. But all that was in the future. Now there was just a boy and his mountain. And they both had some growing to do. Hello there, young man on horseback. You, Mr. Jefferson. Off to study law, are you? You'll love the town of Williamsburg.
Everything is the latest, it's the most up-to-datest. It's a great, big, beautiful, great, big, beautiful world.
He'd never even seen a town before. Never seen two houses right next door.
Everything is the latest, it's the most up-to-datest. It's a great, big, beautiful, great, big, beautiful world.
There was art and architecture he could gaze upon, musical concerts and plays going on.
Everything is the latest, it's the most up-to-datest. It's a great, big, beautiful, great, big, beautiful world.
And you haven't seen anything yet.
The horses will be racing at the racing field today.
And after that, the wrestling match is getting underway.
There's dining and there's dancing, playing whist and croquet. A great, big, beautiful world.
But any contest between horses racing and reading his books was no contest at all. For the world that was opening for Tom Jefferson was the world of Socrates and Plato, Shakespeare and John Locke. It was indeed a great, big, beautiful world. And he added to his law studies by reading books and teaching himself about everything under the sun.
Astronomy, anatomy, biology, psychology, history, geography, geometry, geology, dawn to dusk, dusk to dawn, animal, vegetable, flora, fauna, great big, beautiful world.
There was so much to ponder, so much to be read. There were laws to be written. There were words to be said.
There were dreams to be charted if you just got started in this great big, beautiful world.
But somehow, starting out as a lawyer, Tom's world didn't seem quite so beautiful. His voice, shy and quiet, could not sweep a jury off its feet. And he seemed more concerned with justice than he was with the law.
Now, Tom, the law says if you're born of a slave, then you are a slave too.
But then it's a bad law and should be changed. Some rights no court should have the power to take away, like personal liberty.
Come now. You're young still. Practice a while, you'll feel differently.
He defended the big and the little, the black and the white, traveling hundreds of miles on horseback from court to court, summer and winter, staying at plantations and rough cabins, and his ideas of justice traveled with him. Justice for all, not just the rich and the privileged, but the common man, the little man, with little crops and little homes, and sons who work the land. These were the people he grew to know and love, the people who would build a new world that must not repeat the mistakes of the old one. There was so much to ponder, so much ahead. There were laws to be written. There were words to be said. There were dreams to be charted. If you just got started in this great big, beautiful
Order, gentlemen. The Virginia Assembly is now in session. Delegate from Albemarle County may resume speaking.
Him again, Jefferson. Well, if you ask me, he's nothing but a troublemaker, him and his wild ideas.
Excuse me, sir. What sort of wild ideas?
Well, first, he introduces a bill to stop us from importing slaves. Imagine. I mean, it could wreck our whole economy.
Then he would have us establish a public school system. Free, mind you, to be paid for by the citizens of Virginia.
And that statute for religious freedom for everybody, even Quakers and Jews. Did you ever?
No, sir, not ever. The first written document of religious freedom in the history of the world.
And listen to him now, speaking out against the king. Like those other revolutionaries, Patrick Henry and George Washington. Why, he'll have us hanging from the highest tree yet.
But all he's saying, sir, is an attack on one colony should be acted upon by all the colonies.
What happens in Massachusetts is no concern of ours.
Perhaps that will be decided at the Continental Congress. I understand Mr. Jefferson is a delegate and leaves tomorrow for Philadelphia.
Good riddance. I hope they keep him there, in Philadelphia.
Why, Mrs. McGrath, I see you have a new lodger.
Oh, nice enough chap. Name of Jefferson. Sits at a desk writing most of the time.
Whatever about, I wonder?
Nothing important, I'm sure. We'll probably never more hear of it.
When, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness.
You see such a beautiful view from the top of the mountain.
Mountain, mountain, mountain.
A shiny horizon, bright and exciting and new. Self-government, human rights, justice. A declaration of independence that sounded the beginnings of a new nation.
And the Liberty Bell rang out good tidings throughout the land. Introducing in this corner of the new government, dressed in silks and satins representing the business interest of the nation, the financial wizard of New York and new Secretary of the Treasury, Alexander Hamilton.
Hooray!
And in this corner, the challenger, former governor of Virginia and ambassador to France, dressed in plain homespun, representing the farmers and frontiersmen, the new Secretary of State, Thomas Jefferson.
Hooray! It's the Secretary of Treasury and the Secretary of State having a big, tall, free-for-all cabinet debate.
That's what it is, all right. A slight difference of opinion in President George Washington's cabinet. Two men fighting with words for what they believe in, with the whole country listening. There's Hamilton now.
Oh, Mr. Jefferson. Oh, Mr. Jefferson. If the new United States is to be stable, it has always seemed to me that the government should be by the rich and the well-born and the able.
Oh, it's the Secretary of Treasury and the Secretary of State having a big, tall, free-for-all cabinet debate.
But Mr. Hamilton, oh, Mr. Hamilton, it's the good sense of the people that I rate, sir. And when anything goes wrong, their voices will be strong and will always interpose to set them straight, sir.
Oh, it's the Secretary of Treasury and the Secretary of State having a big, tall, free-for-all cabinet debate.
Where Hamilton votes yes,
Jefferson votes no.
the Hamilton tariff is high.
Jefferson's is low.
Hamilton's for the banks,
Jefferson's for the farms.
the upper class.
The common man. The two are up in arms. It's the Secretary of Treasury and the Secretary of State having a big, tall, free-for-all. Big, tall, free-for-all cabinet debate.
But the more Jefferson fought for his liberal ideas, the more enemies he made. And with a heavy heart, he watched the new government take on the glitter and pomp of a royal court, with all his dreams of the rights of the little man dropped by the wayside. He felt left out and lonely, a failure in public office, and he longed to return to Monticello. Martha had died, but there were the children, and now grandchildren. Soon it would be spring. The bluebirds would be followed by the frogs, the lilac, the shad in the river. He would leave politics now and forever and go back home to his family.